we do it. Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it. We got the right stuff. We put the hammer right down. Wanna be like us? You better stick around. If you want it, you gotta prove it. Like we do it, like we do it. Do it like we do it. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it. Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it. Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it. Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it, like we do it.
Good afternoon. I'm Jonathan Stone, the Marketing and Communications Manager at Downtown Cleveland Alliance, and I'd like to thank you for joining DCA for the 35th episode of Downtown Now webinar series. After the panel discussion, we will have a Q&A session, and throughout the webinar, you are welcome to submit questions using the comment section. I will now turn it over to DCA's Interim President and CEO, Michael Deemer.
Thank you, Jonathan, and thanks to all of you for joining us today. It's hard to believe it is now 35 episodes of the Downtown Now webinar, but we appreciate all of you joining us every other week so that we can talk to you about what's going on in downtown Cleveland and some of the things that are coming around the corner. One of the things that makes downtown Cleveland such a special place is that we have more mobility options for commuters than anywhere else in Ohio. Public transportation is a critical asset for us to attract businesses, residents, and visitors into the urban core, and it's really vital for supporting downtown's vibrancy and sustainability. On June 13th, just a few days away, the Greater Cleveland Regional Transit Authority is going to implement the NEXT GEN System Redesign, which is going to make public transportation in downtown Cleveland even more frequent and convenient than it has been before. Passengers will have reduced wait times and will improve access to schools, jobs, and other key destinations. Today, we have the perfect guest to talk to us about the NEXT GEN System Redesign, the importance of public transportation to the city and economic development. We're joined today by Natoya Walker-Minor, the Deputy General Manager for Administration and External Affairs at the Greater Cleveland Regional Transit Authority, and I might add, most importantly, a fellow member of the class of 2019 of Leadership Cleveland, which we have dubbed the most impactful class ever. So I'm happy to be joined today by my good friend Natoya, and looking forward to the conversation. So Natoya, welcome to the Downtown Now webinar.
I am delighted to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Well, why don't we jump right into the main event? RTA has been out in the community for a while now, planning for and talking about the NEXT GEN System Redesign that is launching right around the corner. Can you tell our viewers and listeners what's in store?
Sure. Back in 2018, RTA really began to think about what is the future of RTA? What does our next 10 years look like? Really planning for the decade. And we undertook 5 pillar studies. Those pillar studies included economic impact, rail car study, fare equity, a system redesign, and a financial and economic outlook. Today, we're talking about the system redesign, affectionately known as NEXT GEN. NEXT GEN, an acronym for Next Generation. And it is the first time since RTA has been an agency since 1975 that we have conducted a comprehensive system redesign. This comprehensive system redesign is embedded in equity. It has greater access, greater connectivity, a decrease in the number of times people have to transfer, an increase in the number of one-seat fares, meaning you don't have to transfer, shorter wait times. It connects to jobs, healthcare, school, entertainment, all those building blocks that really make transit economic development.
Well, and one of the things we're really excited about at Downtown Cleveland Alliance is the increased convenience and frequency that it's going to bring to commuters. We do have the highest concentration of jobs anywhere in the state of Ohio. So having RTA use downtown Cleveland as the hub of its system has always been a big advantage for us.
Mhm.
You know, I'm curious about how, you know, RTA has thought about public transportation as an economic development asset, an economic development tool, and how you work with employers to make sure that you're connecting people with job locations.
So one of the first things that we did, we're really fortunate. We have a new GM, India Birdsong. She arrived here at RTA in September 2019. And as you can imagine, her first 18 months has really been dealing with the pandemic. But she came in really to work with this team over here to really actualize and implement the strategies that came out of the 5 pillar studies. And what we did in October of 2020 was we adopted a new strategic plan with a new mission. And our mission is connecting the community. Simply 3 words, connecting the community, because we believe fundamentally that transit is economic development. And in fact, as an economic development tool, making sure that people can get to work, get to school, get to healthcare, get to entertainment, all those things that I mentioned. I had the good fortune of being selected for this role that I'm in, and I started in March. As you know, Michael, I spent 15 years with Mayor Jackson, and those were phenomenal years of growth, experience, and expansion of my own capability. And of that 15 years, I spent 10 deeply embedded in workforce. And understanding workforce in this community, we have 3 primary workforce drivers in this community: manufacturing, IT, and healthcare. And increasingly, employers are moving out of the central city further and further into the suburbs. So our system redesign is taking people out into more into the suburbs with greater access and time to get out there so that people can get to work. So that if you live in the central city, you can get out to Mayfield, you can get out to other areas of growth where workforce is occurring. You can get to Tri-C East and West, as well as main campus. You can get to the grocery store, those types of things that really become feeders for economic development. And I am so committed to making sure that RTA becomes a stakeholder and a player in the game, if you will. For my entire career in healthcare, in workforce, in public housing, frequently we would need public transit in the room. And sometimes they were there and sometimes they weren't. And I believe that is why GM Birdsong created the position that I have, because she told me fundamentally when she hired me, she wanted us to be a partner to this community. So simply those words, connecting a community, is economic development for us, but it's connecting the community through our partners like DCA, City of Cleveland, Cuyahoga County, NOACA, Sewer District, Housing Authority, the foundations, workforce development, to be in the room when major development deals are occurring so that we can be a part of the planning. So we could talk about transit hubs. We could talk about UPass. We could talk about Ready to Ride. We could talk about those programs that really stimulate for employers and employees the possibilities with public transit. And some of those possibilities, like UPass that I just mentioned, or Ready to Ride, have tax incentives for both the employee and the employer, and it decreases congestion in the central city, which adds to clean air from a sustainability environmental perspective. And all of those things combined really are economic development from a macro lens.
Well, I want to zero in on a couple of those things that you mentioned, because they're very important to us in downtown. Is, you know, we've launched a campaign to welcome office workers back into downtown.
Sure.
As we create experiences and return events, and we have more shops, more restaurants opening every day, and we're getting more and more back to the downtown that everybody remembers before the pandemic. And the more office workers return, the more quickly, the more normal things are going to feel, and the more energetic they're going to feel in downtown. And the system redesign from that perspective can't come at a better time from our perspective. And one of the things that our business development team is talking to employers throughout downtown about are some of those programs that you mentioned, the Commuter Advantage program, Ready to Ride, UPass. I wonder if you could, spend just a minute talking a little bit about how those incentives work and, what advantages they can give employers and employees.
Sure thing. I'll start with the UPass, and UPass stands for Universal Access Pass. And what that does, it allows people in a defined group to have access to the pass at a specific price. So specifically, students can have the UPass. Some employers can have UPass, which encourages students or employees to adopt public transit as a part of their getting to work, and under a universal pass that is financially negotiated upfront between the employer or the academic institution with the transit authority. I know that to be a valuable asset from my days when I lived in DC, where no one drove into the central city. Everybody used a version of what we call here in Cleveland, the universal pass. So it's access, pull up to one of our parking rides, in particular, those on the east side, over along the Shaker lines. On the west side, we have some as well, where you can just jump on the train and get to work. Take that 25, 30-minute ride to relax, read some emails, pop open your laptop and get some work done. It's efficiency, it's effectiveness, it's mobility. And mobility today is different than mobility 30, 50 years ago. And we have mobility options. We have at RTA, we have buses, we have trains, and we also have paratransit. So we're really delighted about that as a legacy city, the city of Cleveland, that I'm a proud Cleveland resident, a proud Cleveland Public Schools graduate. I mean, I remember when RTA was 13 cents for students. I know that probably dates me a bit, but I remember that because public transit has been so viable in my own personal life. But RTA has been a staple in this community, and we continue to be there. And we're very fortunate as a transit authority in this country to have not only bus, but to have rail.
Agreed. It's a tremendous asset that, a lot of communities are figuring out how they can build it. And we're fortunate enough just to have to figure out how to maintain it.
Yeah.
It's a great amenity for us to have in downtown Cleveland. I want to encourage, to the extent that we've got employers listening in, please reach out to either me or Natoya if you're interested in learning more about the Universal Access Pass program. We think it's a tremendous opportunity for workers in downtown Cleveland to have easier access to jobs in downtown, and a great opportunity to take advantage of the new system redesign. I can tell you, Natoya, our business development teams had really great success working with employers moving into the central business district. And matching them with the Ready to Ride and Commuter Advantage program. Through Ready to Ride, we've been able to work with employers to give employees a couple of weeks of free access to the RTA system with customized routes and a TripAdvisor buddy to contact if they've got questions. And what employers moving into downtown have found is, when people try out RTA for a couple of weeks, they end up seeing 25 to 30% of those folks continue to use the system.
Yeah. Actually, I'm really excited to announce here that our system redesign, affectionately known as NEXT GEN, it starts on Sunday. And we have 1 week free from June 13th through June 19th, 1 week free on our buses, on our trains, and our paratransit. And it's an incentive to those in our community in Cleveland and in Cuyahoga County, and those that ride our rolling stock, to take for those that don't ride our rolling stock, to take advantage of it. Take advantage of it for a week. Check it out. See how seamless it is. See how easy it is. Look at the accessibility, the efficiency, and the connectivity. And again, that connectivity is so rich into the forward direction of this organization. We are moving forward by connecting the community internally and externally with our partners and through our rolling stock. I mean, we're excited. I mean, right now we're in the early stages of development of a mobile vaccine clinic. And that's just an example of partnering in this community, partnering with my old stomping grounds, the City of Cleveland Public Health Department, as a strategy to really lean in to reach those that have not become vaccinated as of yet, but really to show up in a beautifully wrapped bus and to encourage people in community at community events, come along and get this vaccine so that we can get back to normal. I mean, we all have been wearing these masks now for just about 18 months, and we're ready to get back to normal. And so when I got over here, I said to Dr. Caver, GM Birdsong, I have an idea. Let's see if we can do it. And it looks like the idea is getting some wheels underneath it. So stay tuned for that.
Well, that is exciting. And, we're so optimistic about the future right now. The vaccines have been very successful. As I said at the outset, there's more and more energy in downtown every day with more workers, visitors returning, the residential population continuing to grow. But as you noted, for that success to continue, we need to continue to get the vaccine out there into more arms. Mm-hmm. So congratulations to you and the RTA team for coming up with some innovative strategies to do that. Yeah. I guess it's maybe a good transition point to pause too, and talk a little bit about the challenges that RTA has faced over the last year. The pandemic has been challenging for all of us. Mm-hmm. But in particular, public transportation was hit very, very hard. Tell us a little bit, and I know you joined RTA just as the pandemic was lifting a little bit, but tell us a little bit about the impact on RTA's system and the impact on your drivers and staff.
Let me just first publicly thank our operators. Our operators came to work every single day. They risked their own health. They risked the health of their families as they remain committed to making sure they could connect people in our community to where they needed to be, to work, to healthcare, to school, to wherever they needed to be. It was critically important. They literally bought in and internalized our mission, connecting the community. And I salute them because they were on the front lines and no one really recognized them publicly. And I would say that for operators across the country, but I know here at RTA, our operators never stopped. What we did was worked with our entire teams here at this organization. We outfitted the buses with the protective gear that the operators need so that they would be safe and that our riders would be safe. And while our rolling stock never stopped, our ridership did dip by about 50%. So we are on the building end of really building back our ridership as the city opens up. And that's why we think that it is really quite remarkable, the timing of Next Gen, that we will have this free ride June 13th through the 19th as more and more businesses are returning to work.
No, it's great timing from our perspective at Downtown Cleveland Alliance to have that the redesign coming into place and the free week. We think that'll not just encourage folks to come back into downtown, but it'll encourage folks to get onto the system. And as you noted, once people try it out, they tend to like it and keep using it, which is a good thing for all of us. And I'd like to join and echo your remarks in thanking the operators and team at RTA for all of the work that they did on the front lines over the course of the last year. There were challenges over the course of the last year. As we're coming out of the pandemic, there are some resources coming into the community through the American Rescue Plan. There's prospects for a potential infrastructure bill. I'm interested to hear a little bit, as you're looking forward at public policy.
Sure.
What opportunities do you see at RTA potentially coming through? With the dollars that are coming in through the American Rescue Plan and the prospective infusion of federal funds with an infrastructure bill.
Sure. Things that are on the radar for our capital improvements include rail car replacement. We need to replace some of our rail cars. Our rail cars, we're very fortunate. And again, I want to give a shout out now to the mechanics that keep our trains running. Our light rail is about 30, 32 years old, and our heavy rail is just under 40 years old, and they ride seamlessly. And can you imagine, where's the playbook on that? But for, the mechanics that keep our rolling stock safe and rolling. So rail car replacement is on our radar. Some of our tracks need to be replaced. As we think about those things, we just completed, after I believe it was 10 years, all of our platforms are ADA accessible. Our most recent ADA accessible is our newest platform on 79th Street, which is right there at Opportunity Corridor. So making sure that we're at those traffic nodes, right? Like Opportunity Corridor, where we have a train. And when I was with the city, very happy to have been highly engaged in Opportunity Corridor and seeing that come to fruition, making that a multimodal space here in Cleveland. Ride your bike, walk, car, transit, or bus lines. So rail car replacement, track replacement, cleaning up some of the things that we need to do to make sure some of our bus shelters are where they need to be, some with new design, some of those types of things that we're doing. And so as we think about the American Rescue Plan, those are the things that we're thinking about. We have a couple bridges, our waterfront line, needs to be repaired. So those things that really attract Clevelanders to the entertainment line. And I was very fortunate to have worked for Mayor White during the bicentennial. And I very much remember, cracking being present while the champagne was cracked on the waterfront line, and what that means for Cleveland with our football team being down there, but our waterfront line and Voinovich Park and so much more as the lakefront plan is in development. I mean, just exciting when it comes to live downtown, work downtown, all those things just coming together. And then somebody like me to have worked for Mayor White and also most recently for Mayor Jackson, to see what can happen over a 30-year period when business and local government work together on some of those plans. And the most amazing thing about it is some of those plans are the plans that were talked about in a very different way, but still very relevant when City Hall, Tower City, and the malls were built. And so consistent leadership and forward thought in city planning with corporate, with public coming together, philanthropic. I really believe in public-private philanthropic partnerships. Those 4 Ps work. And they make a difference in our cities. And I'm just glad to have been a part of so much of that energy and to see a lot of those things come to fruition. And that's why, as I'm here today on my 3-month anniversary here at RTA, to really take 30 years of experience in public government and the things that I worked on in public housing, public workforce, public health, and really connect the dot with public transit. I'm really delighted and excited about that.
Well, before we
I think Michael might have frozen, so
Okay.
we'll wait till he comes back on. But I did notice that you mentioned that RTA will be having free rides from June 13th until the 19th.
Yes.
And I did want to shout out an event that Downtown Cleveland Alliance, in partnership with Caramoo House and Ingenuity,
and
RTA are producing a whole host of other partners and sponsors, Metro Health as well. The Juneteenth Freedom Fest will be taking place. The first annual Juneteenth Freedom Fest in Cleveland will be taking place in downtown Cleveland at Mall C from 12 p.m. to about 10:30 p.m. and we'll have performances and fireworks. And so if anyone's out there, you have access to a free ride down to the festival. So
absolutely,
please take it
out. In fact, Jonathan, let me just pump this up a little bit more. Come check out the first ever Juneteenth under the leadership of DCA and so many partners in this community. And while you're going, Ride RTA, pull out your smartphones, type in Ride RTA, and we will trip plan for you through our app. Or you can do what I used to do when that RTA was 13 cents when I was a student back in the day. You could call 621-9500 and we will trip plan. But come check out this event by riding RTA.
Right. Please do. And I know you also mentioned, and I'll jump into these one of these questions. I think we're just now getting Michael back. But you did mention, the ability for riders to, sit on buses and trains, open up their laptops and do work. And my first question is there Wi-Fi access on buses and trains? And if not, when can we expect to see that maybe coming online?
So some of them have it. We are on a quest, though, for more Wi-Fi. As you know, unfortunately, Cleveland, the digital divide is very real. According to Digital C, at least the last piece of research that I read, about 46% of Clevelanders, people that live in Cuyahoga County, do not have access to Wi-Fi. And so that is something that we have been talking about inside our organization in our executive leadership meetings. How do we make sure that all of our rolling stock has access to Wi-Fi? So that, wouldn't it be cool? You're out there at the bus stop on Public Square or in East Cleveland or in West Park and Triscuit, and you waiting on your bus to come so you could get home and you could just log in. No excuses for not doing your homework. Do it while you're sitting there. So we're very much cognizant of that. Again, going back to our whole thought about connecting the community and being a connector for our community, because we want our young people to be successful. And we want our professionals to be able to do their work with a level of efficiency and ease, trusting our operators to get them where they need to be while you can take that 20 to 30 minute drive to get a little bit of work done.
Well, I want to apologize for our technical difficulties here. I'm happy to be rejoining the conversation. And I don't know if I got my last question out before we turn to the audience. Natoya, I just wanted to make sure that we let the audience know where they can go to find out more information about the Next Gen System Redesign and all of the changes and improvements that are being made.
Sure. We have an interactive map on our website. So please just go to our website, riderta.com, or you can use our handy dandy phone number we've had forever and a day, 621-9500. Or you can download the app on your phone and check us out that way, riderta.com.
And I can attest the website is incredibly helpful and well done. So I've used it a lot. We've used it with a lot of our stakeholders. So congratulations on a great site, and to everybody listening and watching, it is a terrific resource that makes all the improvements very easy to understand.
A lot of savvy people over here, really.
It's a good team. It's a good team. I wanted to make sure that we leave ample time for questions coming in from the audience. Jonathan, were there any other questions in the queue that we should get to?
Yep. So we got a couple coming through. And first question is, Natoya, what are you most excited about as it relates to the next gen system redesign?
What I'm most excited about is really the access, really increasing the access. If you know anything about me, I've been working in what we call the social determinants of health my entire career. And the social determinants of health, even before it was called that, is what I worked on. And so when I use that language, I'm speaking about housing, education, workforce, transportation, right? And access in the community. And my entire career has cut across each of those. And really the intersectionality of all of those is so rich and so incredibly real. And so what I'm most excited about being in this role is really connecting to those partnerships. I mentioned earlier in the show, I believe fundamentally in the 4 Ps, public-private philanthropic partnership. And when we get in the room to think about some things and to really deconstruct where the challenges are, those wicked problems, and to really understand and outline how to navigate within those, we all win. And because I've been really fortunate, blessed, in fact, to work in this community, in public housing, public workforce, city of Cleveland, a 30-year track record as a Cleveland girl straight out of Ward 1, John F. Kennedy High School. Cleveland matters to me. And to be able to sit in this room and have the job to really connect the dots on what public transit can do to make sure that whatever CMHA is doing with the choice neighborhoods, I want to be on the front lines with them so that we can connect public transit to them. Whatever is happening across this community with our CDCs, if it's transit-oriented development, then I want to be in the room with them for that. There's an exciting project occurring called Studio West, right at the Cleveland Lakewood line. I want to be in the room with them when they're talking about that. What can we do to be a partner to them in that community, really celebrating? And in fact, this is Pride Month, and what we can do to connect all Clevelanders. And I'm excited about that because I know people in all those communities, and really knitting together each of those communities as one community is what I'm excited about. And my energy is just overflowing. My internal joke that I always say, I'm still an old high school cheerleader. I just don't wear a size 2 anymore. But for me, it is all about go team win. And that go team win is Cleveland. And so I'm really overjoyed about being here to connect those dots and really knit it together. And so my title could be Chief Dot Connector, and I would be a happy camper.
Yeah, and we're grateful. We're grateful to have you here and to be in that position to connect those dots, because public transit is so critical to the people and specifically Clevelanders who live here. You don't have to convince me. I love riding public transit. I'd rather ride the train than get on the highway any day. But for those who are skeptical out there about public transit, what would you say the benefits are to riding the bus, riding the train, and utilizing public transit?
Sure. Ease of connection, access to critical partners in and around the community. We have a number of sponsored lines. Not only do we have the health line, but we also have the Metro Health line. We also have the CSU line. We also have a line for Tri-C. Those become direct connections. I remember when I was in my late 20s, my first apartment, I lived out in Warrensville, and there was an express bus that came to, I don't know, there must have been 30 apartments in the area that I lived in. And I would just walk out, and I would get on the express bus, and it would get on the highway. And it was just incredible, because of the size of the bus and the skill of the operator to get me to downtown Cleveland in 32 minutes, no headaches. I didn't have to worry about parking, the expense of parking. I may have had to walk 2 blocks to get to work, but for me, that was better than walking 6 blocks at the parking lot that I could afford at the time. So, and that hasn't changed. Our operators are statesmen and women, high customer service. When I think about them and just how happy-go-lucky and how much customer service and people-oriented that they are, and they're driving safe, secure vehicles because of the men and women that keep our rolling stock safe. And RTA is reliable. And not only that, unless I'm wrong, we may be the first city that had transit because of the Van Swearingen brothers, straight out of Shaker Heights, with the train lines that went to Shaker Square and then subsequently to downtown Cleveland. And of course, all that history with public transit that consolidated public transit into what we now call RTA in 1975. And all that history is rich and vibrant and has always connected between economic and community development.
And maybe a follow-up to that question. What is RTA saying to, folks that may be apprehensive about returning to utilizing public transit after, maybe taking a brief hiatus because of the pandemic?
During the pandemic, as I referenced, we stocked up and we learned, like everybody else in this country and in fact globally, how to keep our spaces safe, sanitary, and clean. And we're still doing that. Our buses and our trains go through a deep sanitization, so they're clean. They're it's healthy for you to get on there and to ride. So again, we want to encourage people to come on out during Free Week, June 13th through the 19th. On that last day, which is Juneteenth, catch it down to the Juneteenth event down on the malls and just enjoy and check out the ease.
Thank you for mentioning that. We are working with Karamu House and Ingenuity to host a downtown Juneteenth Freedom Fest, the first one that we've hosted in downtown, and we're excited about the partnership with Karamu House and the opportunity to feature, really a Cleveland gem in the heart of downtown, and hopefully elevate their profile even more in our community. And as we've looked across downtowns nationally, we don't see a lot of Juneteenth festivals. So we hope this really becomes a model that we not only continue on an annual basis working with Karamu House here in downtown Cleveland, but we hope it becomes a model for other cities to emulate. But it is, again, well-timed, not just for workers returning to downtown Cleveland, but very well-timed for people to take advantage of the Juneteenth Freedom Fest on Mall C on June 19th. So thank you for mentioning that.
Oh, sure. And, Juneteenth in its simplest form is about resilience. And it's just timely that we would have this first Freedom Fest that you would guide with all your partners, really celebrating Juneteenth and the resilience of a people left in Texas who were uninformed about freedom. And to celebrate Freedom Fest and Juneteenth in this city with all of the partners and all of diversity. And a lot of people are afraid of the word diversity. And people think that the word diversity means you against me, winners and losers. But diversity means you plus me equals we, and together we win. And that's why I love the name Freedom Fest. I love that it's celebrating the resilience of Juneteenth and all of those people that learned a few years later. But as a community, diversity matters. As a community, we all win. And as a community, we celebrate everyone, irrespective of race, sexual preference, ethnicity, any of that. Because to me, we're all Clevelanders, and this is our town. And the reason why we want to celebrate through transit, housing, healthcare, business, corporation, workforce is because we want our community to thrive. And our community can only thrive when we all win. So down with the noise, up with the we, together we win. And that's what it's all about. So we definitely want people to come down and check out Freedom Fest. It is an eclectic group of partners pulling us together as it should be, celebrating in our city and really celebrating the resilience of Cleveland, because Cleveland has always been a resilient town. It's never really been easy for Cleveland, but somehow we continue to just thrive and win.
Well, I think it's a terrific description of what Juneteenth is all about and the opportunity that we have here. And again, one of the things I love about this conversation, love about working with RTA, is that, we look at downtown Cleveland as the place where Cleveland comes together. It's the welcoming beacon for talent that beckons nationally and globally. And we want this to be a place that unites, where everybody's welcome, everybody comes together. And that's exactly what public transportation does. It knits the city together into a seamless urban fabric and brings everybody together. So, the partnership between Downtown Cleveland Alliance and RTA has always been a very natural and terrific one. And I think this conversation really, really emulates a lot of that.
And it's telling, Mike, as you and I are members of the Leadership Cleveland of 2019, the class with impact. And I've been in my role now 3 months. You've been in your role now for about 6 weeks. And so many others in our class are having amazing impact in and around this community. And that's what it's about. That, we are here. We believe in this city, and we're working to make sure that we best position our city. And I can't tell you how thrilled I am that you are seated in that seat, that you are the one that's leading Downtown Cleveland Alliance at this moment, as corporations, nonprofits, foundations are returning back to downtown Cleveland and working with you to inject transportation into that conversation as we continue to make sure that our beloved city of Cleveland thrives.
Well, I that's very kind, and I really, really appreciate it. It means a lot coming from you, Natoya, and I think you know that. I think you know that.
What's of the heart reaches the heart.
Why don't we pause for a minute, and Jonathan, let's turn back to the audience and see what questions we have coming in.
Okay. And now I really quickly, I did want to note that, of course, we want everyone to come downtown for Juneteenth, but there are celebrations happening all over the city in their respective neighborhoods. On our website, JuneteenthCLE.com, we are listing all of the community activities that are going on. We encourage everyone to celebrate Juneteenth, this important holiday. And you don't have to waste any gas. You can get on RTA and ride all day. So
ride for free. Ride for free. Come
down, but if you can't make it downtown, please visit our website to see what other celebrations may be closer to you. And Natoya, we talked about UPass and linking businesses and universities to RTA, kind of on the front end, but I really wanted to know about the impact of programs like that and what that means for RTA going forward.
So certainly as businesses come back, and I've been in the room with some of your colleagues and a couple members of corporate Cleveland really talking about what that's going to look like in terms of how do we ease the burden of expensive parking and examining how we can have UPass for some of those employers. And I believe that the impact is if we can get more employers to encourage their employees to take public transit, there's less congestion in downtown Cleveland and greater ease and access for those to get to work. In addition, just overall from the whole environmental health piece, right? When you start talking about the 3 E's, economic and environmental impact, and what that looks like, that improves air quality because it's less vehicles rolling in, and our buses, our trains, our paratransit have greater access to the streets for ease of connecting people to where they're going.
And maybe this might be a question for Michael. Do you see UPass impacting decisions on the part of businesses to come to Cleveland?
I do, and I think that one of the reasons why I'm most excited about working with RTA to expand UPass to more downtown buildings and more downtown businesses is because we always compete in downtown Cleveland with free parking in the suburbs. There's nothing more than I would like more than to compete with free parking with free transit for more workers and residents in downtown. And that's been the beauty of the Ready to Ride program, creating a free opportunity to try out the system. But if we can work with employers to create more opportunities for more workers to have free access to public transportation and use the system to get to work, to get home, to get around downtown into the neighborhoods of Cleveland, I think that can be a win-win for downtown, for employers, for workers, for RTA. So, based on and I also look at it from a talent attraction standpoint. I mean, we know that the young people that we're trying to attract to Cleveland to choose Cleveland over other cities, to choose downtown over other parts of the Great Lakes region or other parts of Ohio, they're attracted to mobility options. They like the idea of everything that Natoya has talked about today. Being able to commute and look at the iPad, look at the smartphone, get a little bit of work done, listen to some music, use that time productively. And the more we can create those opportunities, the more convenient we can make it for people. I think it's going to attract more talent to downtown, and by attracting more talent, we're going to attract more businesses. Yeah,
I totally agree with that. Absolutely. And that talent attraction piece is key. And it's all about people say it's all about real estate, but it's also about what's the quality of education. And if we can attract employers having quality education, and those employers then have a well-prepared workforce, and that well-prepared workforce doesn't have to worry about parking, but can access public transit through UPass or by trying Ready to Ride, experimenting with that, then you can get to work. I mean, those are the things that create percolating and bubbling and thriving downtown Cleveland. And it makes it easier for Mike and the members of GCP and others as they are attracting businesses, corporations to downtown Cleveland. And we want them. We want that business in Cleveland. And because we know that it has an economic impact for employment, for the private sector and the bottom line, and then for our schools and public education, those taxes and how that's all packaged together. And so it's all intersectional, it's all related, and we want it because we want economic development and a thriving economic development that incorporates not only employment, and workforce, but also public transit as a fundamental asset, anchor, and foundation to those things.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, I know we're coming up on our hour, and Natoya, I'd like to close with what is now a fun question. A year ago, I would ask this question of guests on the webinar, and it was kind of grabbing at straws for hope. Mm-hmm. It was a very challenging time a year ago, as we all remember. And what I would do is ask our guests, look into your crystal ball and look ahead to 12 months from now, and tell us what you see. What in your case, tell us what you see in terms of a year from now. The next gen system will have been in operation for a year. Will be well beyond the pandemic. Tell us what you see for RTA on the horizon a year from now.
A year from now, I see 95 to 100% of downtown businesses, corporations, nonprofits back at work.
Love the sound of that.
I see men and women and children walking around public square, renting the electric scooters, taking our trolleys, traveling downtown on our buses and our trains. I see major development deals with the Sherwin-Williams project, hopefully funded, our rail car replacement and track replacement, and possibly the lakefront plan occurring. I see the Cleveland Browns, the Cleveland Indians, and the Cleveland Cavaliers winning, and people being downtown just having a great time, thriving with parades. And I just see Cleveland continuing to elevate like Phoenix rising and attracting new businesses and new people to Cleveland. Because one thing's for sure, everybody who relocates here says the same thing in a different way. Oh my God, who knew?
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I heard that is when I worked for Mayor White, and former First Lady Hillary Clinton had come to town, and it was on the front page of the Plain Dealer. She said, "Oh my God, who knew in Cleveland?" And ever since then, whenever I meet someone who's not from here, who is relocated here, they say that in some form or fashion. Cleveland has been resilient, and that's why I used that word earlier. And Cleveland continues to be resilient. And I don't know where those statisticians come from that come up with all these reports that are negative about the city of Cleveland. I don't know a single person they've ever even talked to. So I don't even know if I even believe those numbers, because we continue to be resilient as a community. And so I say, as we have had just our first college graduate from the Say Yes program, another form of economic development, right? That Cleveland will continue to thrive. We'll have a new mayor this time next year. We'll have a new city council this time next year. We have a new leadership over at GCP, new leadership here at RTA, new leadership at some of the corporations, at the hospitals, at the academic institutions. And for me, there's no place but up for Cleveland, because everyone that I've spoken to is saying the same things. Public-private partnerships for the betterment of our community. And for me here at RTA, connecting the community is what I do. I want to be in those rooms connecting the community through what RTA can do with our transit authority.
Well, that is so well said. And I've got to tell you, a much more inspiring vision of the future than what I was able to get out of guests a year ago at a much darker time. So thanks for the inspiring vision. And thank you so much for being our guest today, and for the work that you're doing at RTA, and thanks to your entire team in India for the partnership that the Downtown Cleveland Alliance has with RTA. It's a strong and powerful one, and a critical one to the future of the city. So thank you for that. Best of luck with the Next Gen launch. Yeah. And we look forward to seeing you and lots more people downtown over the next few days and weeks.
RTA.com.
Check it out. Thanks to all of you for watching and listening. We talked a little bit about the Juneteenth Freedom Fest happening on June 19th. We're going to be back with the Downtown Now webinar in 2 weeks on June 24th to talk more about the Juneteenth Freedom Fest, to do a little bit of a recap and talk about all that transpired, all that everybody experienced, and our plans for the future. So I hope you'll tune in 2 weeks on June 24th for the next episode of the Downtown Now webinar. Until then, thanks to all of you for joining us, and we'll see you around downtown Cleveland. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.